All right, let's continue on with our Geronimo Stilton and the Gold Medal Mystery. This starts with a little confession. I have a confession to make, dear reader. I didn't want to let on in front of Hercule Poirot, but I was actually pretty intrigued by his case. As soon as I got off the plane, I hooked up my laptop, went online, and checked out the list of countries participating in the Olympics. But I didn't notice anything funny about it. And here's a list of all the countries that participate in the Olympics. These are all real countries. So I wonder what's weird about the list. It's a long list. Look at this. Pages. All real countries from all over the world. We're not even in here yet. They're alphabetical. These are only ends. Here's some more of the countries. The last page, we're finally towards the end because we are a U for United States. Zimbabwe is last. So I don't know, those are all real countries for me, so I'm not really sure what's up. So let's see. During ancient times, I had a zillion things to do for grandfather, but no trip to Athens would be complete without a little sightseeing. Athens is truly marvelous. Our first stop was at the Pantheon, an ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, the protector of the city. Holy cheese, it was spectacular. That night, I went out to dinner. My guidebook had lots of recommendations for restaurants that specialized in local cheese. The following morning, I went to Mouse City's TV headquarters in Athens. And here's the Parthenon. It's beautiful. It's old, so it's not in perfect shape, but it is perfect. There's a statue of the goddess Athena dressed inside in gold, and there are marble sculptures outside that are painted in bright colors. And here's some things he's read about Greece. There are Spartan warriors. Homer was a blind poet. He wrote a very famous story called the Iliad and the Odyssey. And then it says up here's education. Only males could go to school. And you started school when you were 7 years old. And you learned reading, writing, gymnastics, and music. And then the boys learned how to recite poetry. Girls stayed at home and were taught by their mothers how to weave, cook, and sing. And then it has some things for food. Wheat and barley were the most popular things that they grew there. They were used to make bread. They also had olive trees and grapevines that were important crops for them. Olive oil was used for cooking and also used for medicine and cosmetics, which is like makeup. Grapes were eaten as fruit or pressed into wine. Cheese and fish were also important in the Greek diet. Only chickens and pigs were raised for meat. Sheep and goats were used for their milk, wool, and skin. Cows and mules worked in the fields, and honey was used as a sweetener because sugar had not been invented yet. All right. So then the first Olympic Games were here in honor of Zeus, who was another Greek god. And so here's some things about the first Olympics. So the Greek city-states were always fighting amongst themselves. Only on special occasions were they at peace with one another. But every 4 years, they made a truce to not fight, and they called the athletic games in honor of the god Zeus in the city of Olympia. It was from this event that the modern Olympics take place, because the first type of games like this were held in the city of Olympia. And that's where we got the word Olympics. The games probably began around the year 776 BC. They were held every 4 years, which is what we still do, for approximately 1,200 years until the Romans conquered Greece. One reason for the games going away was that there were of pagan origin, and the Roman Empire was slowly shifting towards Christianity. So it's about what religion they believed in. So who participated? Well, the cities sent their best athletes to compete. However, only men were allowed to compete. Women were even prohibited for even attending the event. And they were only able to participate in these games in the 1900s. So it's like over 2,000 years before women could even become part of the Olympics. So how were the games announced? They were first announced by torchbearers, which we have. If you've ever seen the Olympics, they carry the torches around, and that's what lights the opening day of the games. So they still continue with that, and that's how the Olympics still start today. What games were played? Well, spectators enjoyed watching track and field. That's like the running on the track. That included other things like the long jump, throwing a discus, throwing the javelin, that long, like skinny metal piece, and wrestling. The chariot and the horse races were also crowd favorites. So if you've ever seen a little chariot, it's like a one-seater for a person, and the horse pulls it around. So those were popular sports when it first started. There were also some combat sports because the ancient gods did like fighting. So they mixed kind of wrestling and boxing together. And they were allowed back then to punch, bite, and slap. And obviously that is not one of the Olympic sports anymore. That's not allowed. They used to rub their skin with the olive oil from the olive trees to warm up their muscles and make their bodies less slippery, and so that they would have a better grip. And they sometimes would even sprinkle sand on to get a better grip. And what they got for winning was the crown of olive leaves, which was taken from trees that grew near the temple that was dedicated to Zeus. And that was the award given to the winner. So you would get this crown made of olive leaves. It's pretty cool. All right. And we'll move on back with the story now that we know a little bit about the old time Olympics, and we'll see if we can find anything that looks weird going on with the Olympics.